I would like to announce the release of The Devil and His Due, How Jordan Peterson Plagiarizes Adolf Hitler. The Kindle edition is currently available for pre-order on Amazon and will be released on December 21st, 2020. The paperback edition should be available on or before that date. I'm now going to read to you the back cover copy, after which I'll elaborate more on what you'll be getting when you read The Devil and His Due. It might sound implausible, even preposterous, but the world's foremost public intellectual is a Nazi and an occultist. The Devil and His Due chronicles how an obscure professor obsessed with the subject of evil rebranded himself as a pop psych guru and shot to stardom by combating Marxist compelled speech laws that never existed. It illustrates how Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, father figure to a legion of male followers, is a cult leader who identifies as the savior, feigns Christian beliefs, glorifies Satan, networks with white supremacists, praises serial killers, discusses the Jewish question, touts banned substances as miracle cures, encourages converts to slaughter goats in backyard sacrifices that ought to be sufficiently bloody, and teaches that the alt-right project is incomplete. Peterson has spent 35 years pretending to warn against fascism, while gushing about Hitler's boundless talents and channeling his speech. Undeniably, the lecturer's 12 Rules for Life and Maps of Meaning have been systematically plagiarized from volumes like Mein Kampf and Hitler's second book. Troy Parfit has documented over 4,000 examples of Jordan Peterson copying from Adolf Hitler and others, especially Friedrich Nietzsche, Carl Jung, and the necromancer Aleister Crowley, who believed the Fuhrer to be a prophet and lobbied to have his satanic religion made the official faith of the Third Reich. Parfit exposes Peterson's hidden identity, academic theft, and latent belief system. He decodes his crypto-fascist messages and tells the mesmerizing, bizarre, and entirely true story of an elaborate prank, a ghastly joke born out of vengeance and psychosis and perpetrated on millions of unsuspecting people. The Devil and His Due is a public warning. So, from the back cover copy, you get a basic sense of what to expect. I'll now give you a somewhat broader overview. The story begins with an introduction called Pleased to Meet You, which is a reference to the Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil. There's quite a lot to take in, but mainly the intro is meant to prepare you for the rest of the book. For example, the next part, which is called Analysis Part A. In the analysis, you can see most of the evidence. The plagiarism is divided into sections based on word choice, theme, and something like a logical order, so that you can piece together Peterson's latent belief system in a way that's sequential. So basically, you'll go from learning about his simple hidden beliefs to more complex ones. For instance, the first section is called Grappling Nazis and Lobsters, wherein I explain, with the help of examples of plagiarism, why Peterson labels his followers lobsters. He says his lobsters must grapple with problems, and as it happens, Hitler's goons had to grapple with problems. The lobster is a stand-in for a neo-Nazi. The problem with which Peterson's lobsters must grapple is the Jewish problem. Can you think of the solution to this problem? Apart from grappling with problems, what does Peterson command his lobsters to do? Stand up straight with their shoulders back. So the next section is called Stand Up Straight, Lobsters. Therein, you'll see how Peterson positions his lobsters as prospective soldiers. He commands them to stand up straight and emphasizes the importance of having an upright and erect posture, so they can gaze forthrightly ahead and achieve forward movement. And which 20th century dictator told his lobsters almost exactly the same thing, using identical or nearly identical language? You guessed it, the mass murderer with the tiny mustache. Peterson likes to emphasize that his lobsters are individuals, so the fifth section is called, fittingly, I think you'll agree, Individuals. Here, you'll see some 30 instances of Hitler and Peterson talking about the importance and function of the divine individual, that is, the potential convert or enlistee, who must remain an individual and steer clear of collectivist ideologies, like communism or neo-Marxism/postmodernism. You'll see how Hitler's and Peterson's utterances range from being similar to nearly identical. Indeed, the book features heaps of examples where Hitler's and Peterson's language is exactly the same, word for word. For this to be a coincidence, especially given Peterson's obsession with Hitler and his admission that he's read Mein Kampf, Hitler's Table Talk, and even Nazi propaganda pamphlets, is pretty much a linguistic impossibility. The overlap is not a coincidence, it's wholesale academic theft. In addition to evidence, the example sections feature useful commentary, and I stagger these sections with ones that are mostly explanatory or feature extracts from Peterson's lectures or public talks where we can see him praising and defending the Nazis, downplaying their malevolence, empathizing with Hitler, and so on. To bring you these bits, I had to scour Peterson's back catalogue of talks and lectures, so you wouldn't have to. And as a bonus, I show you how when Peterson talks about Hitler, he frequently orally plagiarizes Hitler. Oh, and if you think I'm making any of this up, I'm not. I have better things to do. As the analysis progresses, at some point readers will have to throw in the towel and concede that Peterson really is plagiarizing Hitler. I don't see how anyone, apart from a crustacean, they have hard shells, could get through, say, the first 10 sections without having their skepticism seriously rattled. By page 150, I expect that even the most stalwart of disbelievers will surrender, slack-jawed. The sheer scope of the plagiarism is simply amazing, and reading it has an effect that's slightly hypnotic. Once I establish that Jordan Peterson has, in fact, plundered the writings of Adolf Hitler, I shift focus to tell you the rest of the story. For example, I help you understand what Peterson is saying through his plagiarized speech. So, Peterson is forever urging his lobster followers to become exploratory heroes who confront chaos and establish order by slaying the dragon. When he says this, he's speaking in a code, albeit one that's really easy to crack. For the most part, it's child's play, and by book's end you should be quite fluent in the Doctor's crypto-fascist medium. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This Parfit guy is nuts. No, I'm describing someone who's nuts. Please do not confuse me with Peterson. Anyway, you will learn about what he means by exploratory hero. Hint, the only person I have ever heard him call heroic is Hitler. And by confronting chaos, establishing order, and slaying the dragon. Obviously, he's not really talking about dragons. The dragons, along with the chaos and order, represent different groups of people. And since Peterson says chaos is black and order is white, I'm going to guess that you can guess which groups of people I'm talking about. After the analysis, there's a short bit called Who Said It, Hitler or Peterson, where you can try your hand at guessing whether 15 quotes were made by JP or AH. And then there's a part called Pictures and Words. Therein I discuss Peterson's use of imagery and the messages he's trying to convey through the manipulation of symbols and images. You'll learn how the artwork in his books, for example a reproduction of a German painting of paradise, and a sketch of his son Julian gazing up at a sculpture of Michelangelo's David, are related to the Third Reich. To restate, Jordan Peterson is a crypto-fascist, and I will help you decipher his code, thereby exposing his myriad cheap tricks and stripping him of his power. Next comes a part called Peterson's Table Talk, in which I offer more passages from interviews, lectures, and public talks that feature the Canadian professor identifying as a Nazi, promoting and defending neo-Nazis, and raving about the wonders of Adolf Hitler. When it comes to National Socialism, Dr. Peterson has so many nice things to say. And that's it essentially. There's your overview. If I do say so myself, this story is fascinating. Indeed, it's been hiding in plain sight for decades, yet no one took the time to discover it. Jordan Peterson should have been outed as a neo-Nazi when he taught at Harvard in the 1990s. How this never happened, and hasn't happened since, is just beyond me. Whether you're suspicious of Jordan Peterson, or one of his critics, or even one of his cult followers, you're in for a shock. He is not who he pretends to be. Again, the ebook or Kindle edition of The Devil in His Due will be released on Amazon on December 21st, 2020, and it's available for pre-order now. You should be able to get the paperback on or before that date, and we're planning on featuring the title on other platforms, such as Kobo and Barnes & Noble. Thank you for listening. Feel free to hit like and subscribe.